Hello students, welcome to EPG Patashala. I am Dr. K.R. Ram Mohan, Associate Professor at Department of Anthropology, Sikkim University. Today we are going to talk about a module on nature, man, spirit, complex, exogenous process. This module comes under paper Indian Anthropology. Before we go this module, let us see what are the learning objectives. From this module, we will able to know about the social cultural phenomena of nature, man, spirit complex among Indian society and the exogenous processes. To learn the factors responsible for culture change, to know the change set up in India pertaining to cultural, political and economic system. So let us understand in a broader perspective of this nature, man, spirit complex. So within the broader purview of cultural ecology, as enunciated in terms of its attributes of interrelatedness, adaptation, and interaction between socio-cultural phenomena and environment. However, an added dimension of cultural ecology is the analysis of spirits and other religious attributes. So in their relationship to man and his culture on one hand and nature on the other hand. So a product of man with numerous elements, events, many rituals and various social institutions and practices of culture have been explored in terms of the relationship and interaction with the nature and spirits. Whether the ingredients of the latter determine the former, or it is an equation of more adaptations, is also have made in nature, man, spirit complex. So one may gather an impression through certain insights like herewith that ecology has a lot to say even in the religious complex and vice versa. So ecological variations in a broad sense, be it at sea, forests, hills, plains, high altitudes, where predominantly the tribals are being set up and other traditional communities with deep-rooted religious organization. So the method of cultural ecology is quite significant in exploring the tribal cultural nexus with their environment. The nature-man-spirit complex, which is proposed by Vidyarthi in 1951, particularly with the practices of the Malaria tribe, which according to him was one of the few primitive tribes in India. When Vidyarthi came to know about this excessive primitiveness of the isolated Malays, he decided to make them the object of scientific investigation. So Vidyarthi explained how the ecological basis of forests and the slash and burn cultivation shaped the economic life of the Malay tribe. So with this, Vidyarthi studied man in relation with man. Vidyarthi presented 4 types of Malay spirits: the Gosian, the benevolent spirits, the G Ukra spirit, the ancestors, the Alchi, the evil spirits, and the Chargani, the spiritual power of witches or the witchcraft, in a framework of sacred geography, sacred performances, with sacred specialists. So, nature, man, and spirits, they interact with necessity. So, this was the basis of the famous concept of nature, man, spirit complex proposed by Vidyarthi. So, Vidyarthi describes that the culture of this hill tribe of Malaria, in terms of their complex, where three ingredients of the complex are mutually interdependent and they mutually complementary to each other. So it is based on the fact that arising out of man's close interaction with the dependence on nature in his belief in the supernatural and the spiritual world. So it has been found out that in most of the tribal parts of India, there is an intimate relationship and interaction between various social organizations on the one hand and the religious complex and ecological conditions on the other hand. In certain circumstances, it appears that the nature and spirit conditions some of the social ways and practices, while in other it sounds as a case of adjustment for smooth living. At times, the relationship appears unavoidable. Its avoidance would cause hardship to the people. But at other places, the shift in some of the lifestyles has been reported, leading thereby to the easing of severity of traditionally defined nature-man-spirit complex. So Vidyarthi asserted that the Malaria culture originated, developed, and flourished in the lap of nature. So the entire forest range, the entire forest surrounded the Malays are mainly existing in the context of its forests and can have comprehensive understanding of this culture. So in addition providing the required land for slash and burn cultivation, the main source of Malaria economy, the forests provide them with food, drinks, shelter, medicine, and many other things. So he discovered that every moment of the Malaria life was profoundly influenced by nature on the one hand and spirit on the other hand. So these two ingredients of the complex play a paramount role in the life cycle of the Malaria people. So Pradeep Singh, in one of his articles on nature-man-spirit complex of hill tribe, a restudy which he wants to take the Malaria tribes once again, analyzes the social organization of the Malays in the context of ecology and religious structure with special reference to the changing situations. And he restudied the same Malay villages after a period of 2 decades, which Vidyarthi has did it in 1950s. You want to see what the changes have taken place. So combining and highlighting the theoretical approach of environmental determinism or determinism and the possibilism within the framework of ecological thinking, he boils down to a mutual interaction preview of cultural ecology. So under the later, Singh observes that certain elements of the culture have been susceptible to certain changes. And the reasons could be Hinduization, where the caste Hindus might have converted these tribes into mainstream Hindu. The Christian missionaries might have come into these areas, and so there is Christianization. There could be close contact, and industries might have set up in these areas, so this industrialization. And various welfare agencies have poured in these areas. And also the influence of political ideologies. Now, a little indifferent attitude to slash and burn cultivation has developed among the Malay. Hunting was not being practiced. Likewise, some religious performances and worships are done more as a tradition but with less devotion. Though the pig and fowl sacrifices are in practice. So the major areas of Malay life and culture have continued to be intact because the ecology and the supernatural world continue to remain largely the same. So nature and spirit still determine the Malay life. So in another study, Singh works out a mathematical abstraction of the concept of and goes to establish that in spite of these changes, the nature-man-spirit complex, it still remains constant. So in another study, Dasgupta, a study in nature-man-spirit complex, has again concentrated on the study of interaction of man with spirit and nature, particularly with a reference to the Ho tribe of Kolan. So Gupta has divided the study in three parts: the nature, the man, and the spirit. So in the first part, ecological basis of the culture is exposed. So man-to-man interaction is searched in the second part, which is covering where the human interaction between two people at a family level, at a clan level, at a village, and at the tribal level. So the influence of the supernatural world on the whole tribal life is exhibited in these aspects. So this is attempted in the background of the concept of sacred geography, the sacred specialists, and the sacred performances. In another article, R.K. Prasad, The Parayas, a study in nature-man-spirit complex, outlines the three different ecological settings, the hill valley and the plain valleys, which determines the Parayas' economic activities, social organization, and their relationship with the world of spirits. Similarly, another work by R.K. Sinha, a note on the nature-man-spirit complex of a tribe of Pandas, adopted the approach of studying the complex of nature, man, spirit on the lines similar to one adopted by the earlier one which floated this concept by L.P. Vidyarthi with reference to Malaria. So the interactions and the interconnections between nature, man and spirit have been clearly understood and explored. So Sinha also wants to make use of K. and Sahai's model of interpreting the changes in the concerned complex in the light of the changes taking place around specific cultures. Now let us see and understand what is the exogenous processes in a specific culture which leading to certain socio-cultural changes. As social change is an inevitable phenomenon and it is ubiquitous, it occurs with the growth of every society. As the developments in the political, economic and science and technology come through, the society will certainly undergo a number of changes and they will try to adapt to the new developments which are occurring at periods of time. Hence, there is no society can remain stagnant and isolated with these kinds of changes that are taking place at regular intervals in many spheres in the world. And how can they avoid contact with other societies or socio-political economic systems? And there is also an inherent desire in every group or society to grow and move ahead and progress in their own way. So in this process, a society undergoes transition from a simple to complex system of organization, values, institutions, and the given set of customs. Hence, the change differs in its volume, the degree, the pace, and the quality from society to society depending upon various factors. Perhaps which kickstart the change and the prevailing general cultural circumstances in which factors happens to operate. Hence, the exogenous processes are the processes which brings these different set of socio-cultural changes in Indian society due to various external factors. So the recent trends of change in societies has been due to specifically the man-made factors like industrialization, resultant commercialization, urbanization, and more recently, the phenomenon of globalization, which has been the catalyst in a quick and speedy transformation of the developing nations in all the third world countries. Though Indian society, which is based on the caste system, which is perceived and understood as a closed society where certain sections of the caste cannot move socially. So there is social mobility is restricted. And it gives to a changeless society when we take in this society from within the framework of caste system. But within the framework of this caste system, some kind of mobility was observed by M.N. Srinivas by using the term Sanskritization to denote any such type of process, social change occurs from one social order to another social order, either by imitating the upper caste or started to reorienting their lifestyles basing on the dominant caste, or with the model of Westerners, what we call Westernization, which clearly describes this process. Let us understand the process of modernization as an exogenous process. Modernization is a kind of social change in where a traditional society inclines to develop new patterns of conduct in response to new challenges of the new age. Modernization is also a process where the social phenomena of becoming modern and rational, or the journey from pre-modern to modern. It means that change not only in the external nature of social institutions, but also in the internal attitudes and beliefs in corresponding with the external change. Thus, the emotional, intellectual, and spiritual levels of members in the society will also change over a course of time. So it is a change in the whole attitude of life's problems, the society, and the universe at large. So modernization is characterized by the rise of industry, cities, market capitalism, growing secularization, democratization in the society. So the process of modernization in India operates at two levels. the level of social structure and the tradition. So modernization in these systems begins either from the emergent and endogenous sources from the society itself when undergoing social evolution, or through contact with the forces outside systems when it is influenced by ideologies by other societies. Let us understand the process of Sanskritization. This term was used by M.N. Srinivas and propagated, and we also understood how in a Sanskritization process where the low caste Hindu or a tribal or other groups wants to elevate their social status by imitating the upper caste or the dominant caste to not to retain in the lower rung of the social order. So generally such changes are followed by a claim to a higher position in the caste hierarchy than that traditionally conceded to the claimant caste by the local community. So in his study, Srinivas says the Coorgs of Mysore, he found that the lower caste, in order to raise their position to the caste hierarchy, adopted some customs and traditions of the Brahmins and gave up their own, which were considered to be impure, polluted by the other higher castes. So the socio-economic deprivation of the backward sections of the society makes them to endeavor to level up their situation. So the hierarchy of Varna system, the Brahmin, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya and the Sudra. According to this Varna model, the Harijans or the untouchables were outside the caste system, and contact with the Harijans is considered to be very polluted because they don't fall within the Varna system. So the upward caste mobility resulting from Sanskritization leads to only the positional changes and not the structural change. But in the social structure of the caste system, the hierarchy of social positions coincided with the hierarchy of expectations about the conformity to the ideal conduct norms. Let us understand another concept on Westernization. So the role of Westernization has been very significant in understanding the socio-cultural changes of modern India. The British rule produced radical and lasting changes in the Indian society and culture. The British brought with them, unlike the Mughals, a new technology, the institutions, knowledge, beliefs, and value systems. So these have become the main source of social mobility for individuals and groups. So going on the concept of Westernization, M.N. Srinivas refers Westernization to the changes brought about in Indian society and culture as a result of over 150 years of British rule, and the term subsumes changes occurring at different levels of technology, institutions, ideology, and values. He describes the technological changes, establishment of educational institutions, rise of nationalism, and a new political culture as almost the byproducts of Westernization or the British rule in the 200 years in India. So thus by the Westernization, M.N. Srinivas primarily meant that because of British impact. So during 19th century, the British slowly laid down the foundations of modern state by surveying land, settling the revenue, creating modern bureaucratic system, by deploying army, police, instituting law courts, and codifying the law, and even developing communications like railways, telegraph, posts department, and other infrastructure structures, schools and colleges. Even Gandhiji wrote in his autobiography that educated Indians undertook the task of becoming English gentlemen in their dress pattern, manners, habits, choices, and even preferences. So it included learning to appreciate the Western culture, where Western education resulted in big change in the outlook of these educated people. So what are the main features of this Westernization? In comparison with Sanskritization and Westernization, it is a simple concept in a sense that it explains the impact of the Western contact, the rules, the culture of Western. So M.N. Srinivas defends the uses the term when uses that there is a need for such term when analyzing the changes that a non-Western country undergoes as a result of prolonged contact with the Western one. So Westernization implies, according to Srinivas, certain values and preferences. So the most important value, which in turn subsumes several other values like humanitarianism. So it implies an active concern for the welfare of all human beings, irrespective of their caste, creed, their gender, religion, etc. M.N. Srinivas further observed that the equitarianism and secularization are both included in humanitarianism. So Westernization not only includes the introduction of new institutions, for example, any kind of technology or social institution, but also the fundamental changes in the old institutions. For example, India had schools long before the arrival of the British. But when the British came into this society, there could be an altered and changes in these Indian institutions. So other institutions such as army, civil service and law courts were also similarly affected. So with the form and pace of Westernization in India varied from region to region, from one section to other section. So one group of people became more Westernized, the other group did not become much Westernized. They took only some technology, the others could not take technology. So it is relative way in terms of when we say Westernization. The higher caste people could not take much Westernization, the lower caste people could take more Westernization. So in a sense, according to Srinivas, Westernization should be understood how social groups in India have embraced Westernization to their own context and levels. So according to Srinivas, Westernization pervades the both political and cultural fields also. So he writes in the political and cultural fields, Westernization has given birth not only to nationalism, but also to revive the communalism, casteism heightened, and linguistic consciousness and regionalism. So, to make things further, the revivalist movements have used Western type of schools and colleges. Then Srinivas claims that the term Westernization, unlike modernization, is basically ethically neutral. Its use does not carry the implication that whether it is good or bad, but whereas modernization has pervaded all sections. Hence, Srinivas opines that the increase in the Westernization does not retard the process of Sanskritization. Both go on simultaneously. And to some extent, the increase in Westernization accelerates the process of Sanskritization. The telecommunication, the media, the infrastructure will all give the Western impact of India. More organized religious pilgrimages, meetings, caste solidarities, which were not possible in the past. So, the term Westernization is preferable to modernization. So, he contends that the modernization presupposes a rationality of goals, which in the ultimate analysis could not be taken for granted since human ends are based on value preferences and rationality could only be predicted of the means, not of the ends of given social action. So he considers the term modernization as subjective and Westernization as more objective. Let us understand the process of globalization. What does it mean? So globalization is a social process in which the constraints of geography and social and cultural arrangements recede and in which people become increasingly aware that they are receding, according to Malcolm Waters. Thus, in the process of globalization, physical distance and obstacles have become less important in communication and exchange in social, which includes political, economic, and cultural matters. 50 years ago, mobility was more of village to the cities. Then it increased from cities to cities, from region to region. Now, it has become extended from country to country. So there are many features of globalization process. It encompasses all kinds of economic transactions, political interconnectedness, and global capitalism. And we know that people and objects are conveyed around this world more swiftly than in the past. This is due to technology. Thus, global dimension to the contemporary life in terms of economics, politics, and culture is visibly seen. So with the increase in the various levels of interaction, reactions, and responses occurs within no time. Hence, the interplay at local, state, national, international levels has affected both the action and the identity. So the consequences of globalization among people in India are perceived now in economic, political, and cultural fields. Featherstone, in his work, gives an example of cultural globalization, meaning that the development of global financial markets in which the main actors share many businesses and lifestyle norms and values. For example, the international frame of reference in leisure as well as work, and some other areas of consumption like the fast foods, the world cars, etc., have become more globalized due to expansion of this global capital which is flowing from one country to another country. However, cultural globalization does not mean that cultural differentiation does not exist, meaning though there is globalization, but at some levels cultural differentiation is also existing. So globalization has been associated with key areas of change in culture, language, traditions, market, politics, and economics. Now, when we hear this word globalization, it gives different connotations to different people. This is how we take it. You may take globalization in some way. I may take globalization in my own way. For some people, globalization means movement of language. It is a movement of ideas. People are on the move and products are moving from one part of the world to other part of the world. And some see this is a dominance of the multinational corporations, where they perceive that these multinational corporations are destroying the local cultural identities because they put their business into these countries and they're trying to dominate their process of style into the local communities. Hence, the term globalization has been associated with any such areas of change. which have led to a marked transformation of the given world order. So at the political level, the process of deregulation and liberalization has led to an apparent diminution of the state and a general assumption that all states, wherever they must come from, become democratic and secure good governance for its own people. Well, at the level of economy, globalization has been associated with a trend towards increasing economic liberalization. So this has reflected in free trade and more deregulated labor, good and financial markets. Let us summarize the three important concepts of nature, man, spirit complex, the exogenous processes, the process of Sanskritization, the process of modernization, and the process of Westernization. Lastly, the globalization process. The nature-man-spirit complex is essentially understood within the context of cultural ecology. And the main proponent of nature-man-spirit complex as given by L.P. Vidyarthi, which he talks of how the Malaria tribe is in relationship with the given immediate environment and how the processes of culture at one level, environment at one level influence human interaction and how they weave around themselves these concepts of nature at one level and spirit at another level. And L.P. Vidyarthi's concept of nature-man-spirit complex has given a new dimension and understanding that various scheduled tribes and other traditional groups, how they incorporate and adapt to particular environments. And with this kind, how they can make a different kind of social structure. And these things are basically understood within the framework of cultural ecology by looking at two theoretical paradigms of the environmental determinism and the possibilism. How best we can understand whether this nature-man-spirit complex is related to the environmental determinism or to the possibilist theoretical paradigm. Following Vidyarthi's new approach of understanding man's association with nature from a cultural ecological perspective, other anthropologists like Singh, Patnaik has taken re-studies to see whether these traditional communities are still practicing or still in the ecological niche practicing these three interactions at three levels, or they wanted to see whether there are any exogenous processes which influence societies to change in the historical process. Within that context, M.N. Srinivas wanted to study how a particular caste groups change itself from a lowest position to highest position, what we call the social mobility, through a process called Sanskritization. Meaning that given the rigid caste social structure, any social group cannot alter its social status, though the identities may remain same. Hence, He proposed this model saying that this is only possible through imitation of the dominant or upper caste. Along the process of Sanskritization, Srinivas has also processed the process of Westernization. To what extent the British government has brought significant changes in the large traditional societies of Indian society. So Srinivas opined that perhaps there could be economic and political changes, but the degree and the level and the forms of changes have taken according to each cultural group.